Welcome to Season 3 of Girl You Know It. For those of you joining us for the first time, Girl You Know It is an offshoot podcast for Black Women Connect Vancouver. Black Women Connect Vancouver is a collective of women who come together to inspire, empower, leverage our strengths, and embrace our diverse experiences. It's a community where Black women in Vancouver can build meaningful relationships and celebrate the beauty of Black womanhood. Girl You Know It is a space where we want to create connection in a different way, to talk about our shared experiences as Black women in a serious and fun way, and everything in between. Thanks for joining us. Welcome everybody. I am your host, Natizia, and joining us today is Abby. We are missing Elle today. Hope you feel better, but we are thinking of you, and we wish you were here. So, as you know, Girl You Know It, for those of you who are joining us for the first time, is an offshoot podcast of Black Women Connect Vancouver, where we want to create and connection spaces and different ways to talk about our shared experiences as Black women, femmes in serious and silly ways, and everything in between. And so today, our podcast episode is our Black History Futures Month. And we are so excited to be joined today with Amaya and Deborah, who are going to share their experience about being stunt women in the industry, especially in Canada. And we wanted to do this episode with what was the future, like what was the back history and what was the future now. And so how has everything come to be? So thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us. It's great to be here.
We're excited.
Yeah.
So tell us about yourselves. Who are you? What do you do?
You can go, Mama.
No, Mama first. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a mom of this fantastic young lady, Maya, and I am a stunt performer, retired now, in the film industry. Started back in the early 70s and 75 in film, and have just done different jobs all the way through the business, and been able to pass the torch over to the young one.
I love it.
Yeah, and I am Maya Macatumpag-Murray.
Yes.
Hello.
The full name.
Yes.
You gotta let us know.
Yes.
I'm a stunt performer in this industry, also getting into acting, and all different kinds of projects. I love what I do. I focus on fighting and flying on wires, and yeah, I'm just happy to be here with you guys. Appreciate it.
Yes,
Yeah.
so happy to be with you.
So tell us, at what point in your life, you were like, I'm going to pursue this career? What was something, I guess, Deborah, what was for you?
Well, for me, I worked in modeling, and I was a dancer back in the day, and I had always dabbled in the film industry since age of 5. And when I had Maya, I had a broadcast degree that I was supposed to use, which I never did, and said I want to stay in the film world, and I was standing in for Cynthia Martell's on a TV show called Strange Luck, and the script supervisor was talking to me, and she knew that I was a dancer and into some boxing with my husband, and she's like, let me introduce you to somebody. And I met a stunt coordinator that day, and he said, this is the job. Do you think you can come back tomorrow and clear this table off? And I said, yeah, I could do that. And that's how my career started, through a gentleman named Lou Bolo.
And you mean clear this table off, like throw yourself on the table, or like what type of clear?
Yeah, there's clearing a table off, normally.
Yes.
Wiping dishes, picking them up. And then there was the way we do it in stunts is they set the table up with plates and cups and all that kind of stuff, and you have to throw yourself onto the table and knock everything off and land on the ground or wherever they tell you to land, on the chair, wherever it is.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hey,
That's
cleared it.
And that's the start of that.
That was the start of that. So
How
we
was
gave me an
that
opportunity.
first experience doing? That was your first.
That was my first
First
stunt
job.
experience,
Yeah.
yes. And it was exhilarating and fun, and I wanted to do it over and over again. And, I came home from work, and my husband at the time thought I was absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
He's like, what are you doing and why? And I told him, and I said, it's great and it pays well. So,
Wow.
you know, it was an opportunity. I go, they don't have anybody that looks like me in the business. So that's why they asked me, and I was there to fill that void. So,
Wow.
Wow.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
How about for you, Maya?
Oh. I had been introduced to the film industry early, obviously, because of my mother. She'd bring me on set sometimes, being a mother and also a stunt performer. And I was also an actor as a kid doing small little gigs here and there. And my first stunt gig was on the Smallville pilot. For
Like Superman
Alex Green.
Smallville.
Yeah,
Oh,
like the
okay,
one with Tom Welling. Yeah. And so I had to cry and get saved by Superman. And that was my first gig. And that was great. And I loved it. But my parents always limited me to like 2 jobs a year.
Yeah.
They wanted me to focus on school.
Yeah.
Obviously have opportunities to build my foundation. We're not going to be doing that. It's great. But they really wanted me to have another foundation.
Yeah.
And so when I went to college, I came back. I wrote my LSAT. I was prepping to go to law school. And I was like, okay, like, once I go to law school, it's done for film and stunts. So this is the only time I can really like pursue it and see if I love it. And my mom was like, okay, like if you want to take this time, you know, after you got your first degree, like go for it. And I was like, okay. So I started training and taking jobs here and there and getting days here and there. And I remember my mom was like, if you hit the ground, because that's a big part of stunts, it's falling. A lot of the time you're just like stumbling, falling, things like that. She's like, once you hit the ground and you get your bumps and bruises, like you'll know if you really want to be a stunt performer like full time, because that's a big part of the job. Like you either like it or you don't.
Yeah.
And I remember on Van Helsing, this Canadian vampire show, I had to get lifted up and thrown to the ground.
Woo.
And I was like, okay, this is going to be the day I figure it out. And as soon as I get thrown to the ground, I just was like, let's do it again. Like, let's have fun. Like, let's go. Like, I really, like, saw the sport and the athletic aspect of it that I loved and the thrill of it, which I loved. And so I came home. I told her, I was like, yeah, I want to do this full time. Like, it really is something that I enjoy. Like, good, bad, ugly.
Yeah.
And she was like, okay, have fun. Go have fun. Yeah. Like, do your thing.
Wow. Okay, so you talked earlier about your specialty, because being a stunt woman, there's different avenues, right? You do, like you said, wire, there's like vehicle maneuvering, there's like fighting and all that. So specifically, Deborah, what did you do as a stunt woman? What was your like specialties, or was it a full?
She really did it all.
Yeah.
it wasn't for, you know, in the Black community and people of color, like back in the day, you were there to double mostly.
Okay.
And so you had to, because there was nobody else that did, there was just nobody else. So you couldn't just pick like a fighter to do a day. And then you can pick a person who does water stuff another day. And then somebody who does like aerial stuff another day. Like it was just, you had to figure it out.
So just now, recently in our current society, there's specific jobs.
That
But for
people
you
can
back
focus on.
then,
Back in the day, there was only 2 women in Western Canada. Right. And then there was only, you know, a dark-skinned sister. Like, that was it for me. So they literally picked us from light and dark.
Wow.
And so one was underwater. She was wonderful, Braden Haggerty. She did camera work. She's just an amazing stunt performer all around. But definitely she had her specialty in the water. So we definitely went to her for that. But for me, definitely fighting, driving, you know, high falls, that kind of stuff. I had to dabble in all of it.
Yes.
So you never got to just do one thing back in the day. Now we have more of a pool to choose from. So if we want somebody to do wires that's been an aerial person in Cirque du Soleil, we might have that girl, person of color now, to fill that void.
Yeah.
You know, so it's different now. So yeah.
Okay. Maya, how about for you? Like you said, wires and
Fighting.
fighting.
Yeah, film fighting.
Film fighting.
Choreography, creating movement for characters, training my actors, things like that. Yeah, that's where I come alive for sure, that I really enjoy. And also because I was a dancer for so many years, I love the choreo aspect of it. I love being able to have like a dance partner. Like that's what we call it in stunts. Like when we're doing fights, we have our dance partner and we just figure out with weapons or with whatever magic the character has or superpowers the character has. We figure out how to articulate the characters on paper through movement. So it's really cool for me to do. Yeah.
That's cool.
So what kind of education or training do you have to go through to, I guess, get to this point?
Well, for me, my background was in dance. And so the whole fight world was new when I met my husband. He was a boxer, so he trained me doing some of that. And then I ended up joining a martial arts school at Tonguedo in Richmond.
Yes.
And they trained me to do weapons, double stick nunchucks, fighting, all that kind of stuff. And then I went and took driving course in the States. And so there's, you seek it out.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like totally on you too to acquire your skills, add to your repertoire of what you can offer to a film set for a stunt person. So they're like, I get a lot of questions like, oh Maya, like, what do you train all the time? And it's like always changing. And that's what's great too, because it's never a dull moment. Like I will never get bored. The reason why I retire is because I choose to retire, not because I'm bored. And it's because there's always a different movie with something different asked of a different character, and they may need to just be able to spin some knives or do some random trick or flip, and so that you don't have, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna go learn that for this job, or I'm gonna just learn this for this other job potentially. So it's cool.
And then you're just constantly building on your repertoire with all the different movies and experiences that you have. That's actually really awesome.
I knew she was serious too when she was like, okay, Mom, do you want to go to the gun range with me? I'm like, yes, I do. But, this is a little odd, but okay.
Amazing experience. Let's go shoot some guns.
You're right? She's like, I need to get my gun license, my this. And so, it was awesome to watch her build her bag of tricks.
Yeah.
From skydiving, she's done some stuff like,
Shout out to Emerson Murray, though. That was not by choice. That was actually on my birthday. That's how I got engaged. And he knew I wanted to do that at some point in my life at 25, and on my 25th birthday, he actually took me when we were in California to Paris skydiving, and when we landed on the ground, he proposed. That was the last thing.
Okay.
That was the last thing on my mind. People were like, were you surprised? Yes. I was processing the fact that I was still alive. I was like, oh, this is what he's gonna propose. Like, for sure.
That's funny.
That is a story.
Yeah.
What did you find some of the challenges to be as a Black woman, I guess, for you, starting out in your career? Because you just said that it was like a difference between light and dark, and then did things change over time, or did you find like, okay, I have to prove myself, or
all of it?
Yeah,
all of it. It was like in the beginning, it was like, well, nobody was like instructing me on what to do to get more stuff, more skills, more. They'd say like, go fight, do this, but like you have to find the school, you got to find the right, training partners, you got to find. So it was just difficult to have access to different things. Like it was very cliquey back in the day.
It was very much so an old boys club, old white boys club.
Yes.
So you're not really necessarily invited
into
to go
try
because you're not even in the room with them most of the time. So once I started getting some people started opening up to me and giving me a chance, got a jet ski, got a motorcycle, shout out to Kathy Hubble and Scott Nicholson and different people like that helped me learn some other skills. And so that was awesome. Melissa Stubbs helped me. There was a lot of people that like assisted, like getting me some training because they knew I was starting from zero. So
and this is all happening
as I'm working.
As you're working.
Yes.
And did you work mainly here in Vancouver, or were you able to travel to the States and around?
So I worked
Canada?
Mostly here in British Columbia.
Yeah.
I worked in Toronto, Calgary, and Australia once.
Australia!
But tell them, who are you doubling for?
Who are you doubling for?
I was doubling, but I don't know, you guys are really young. You don't
No,
even know.
tell them.
It was Grace Jones.
Oh.
Yes.
No! What?
Yeah, so she's an icon, and
What? For what?
This was for a small TV show called Beastmasters.
Oh. Okay.
Yes.
I know, I'll be like looking at
Yes.
As soon as I get out of here, you're gonna be like,
Yeah,
And at the time, I was the first
goodness.
woman to double her. She had only had men because there was no black
only
stunt
men?
Yeah.
That's what it
Again,
was like back then.
back
because
in the
Right.
day.
Oh my
Wow.
goodness.
Yes. Yes. Hey.
Right. Grace Jones,
Jones.
icon.
Oh.
Icon.
that alone on a resume.
Yes, exactly.
You're welcome.
Wow.
That's amazing.
That is amazing. They flew you out?
Yes, they did actually. And, you know, I had never seen a ticket cost so much money.
Yeah.
But you know, you go
Australia.
business class or like a last minute flight. You know, back then it was $8,596. I'll never forget it because I had never seen anything like that spent on just airfare.
Goodness.
Yes, yes.
Wow, here I'm thinking it was cheaper.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the cost now.
Right.
Wow,
That's
that's
crazy.
amazing.
That was returned though.
Yeah, and I remember you talking about your experience in Australia.
My experience in
yeah.
Australia was very backwards.
Backwards.
Yeah.
You definitely knew that you were a black person
Yeah.
the minute you stepped off the plane. And they let you know that. And so the experience was not, you know, Grace Jones was the highlight, but the experience of working with people who look at you as less than
Yeah.
and that you're disposable
Yeah.
and you're not worth, you know, putting the time and effort into was very challenging. So every night back to the hotel room, it was tears, it was crying, it was missing my home.
Yeah.
So it was very challenging, and yeah, that was an experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What year was that? That you were
That
filming
would
that?
have been 2000.
Man, that was just the other day.
Right.
Like, honestly.
Right. It would have been around 2000. So, yeah.
Wow.
But that was in Australia. You know, there's issues we have right,
Right,
here.
yeah.
We need to go all the way across the world to find stuff.
Yeah. It's true. Just walk out the door.
Right.
Well, so how do you, I guess, decompress in moments like that? Do you ever find that you had moments where, is this even worth it? Or you're like, no, I need to push this barrier to get to where I want to be? Because we kind of set goals for ourselves, you know?
Yeah.
and-
You know, once I was in it, I was like, I need to be here.
Yeah.
And then being there was definitely ruffling, you know, some people's feathers.
Right.
Because, you know, I'm not quiet. So I definitely, when I saw things that didn't look right, I
Yeah.
spoke about it. And so that was, you know, very challenging. So,
And just to give you a FYI about my mother is known for being the person to stand up for the little guy.
Yeah.
It's the best thing and the best quality I know about her, and everybody knows about her, and it's the reason why I was able to navigate this industry with so much respect given,
Yeah.
and so many assurances given to me and support given to me because my mom fought for those.
Yeah.
She literally fought for those tooth and nail. So at a time where people didn't want to listen, and it was a time where there was no Black Lives Matter movement, there was no policy changed in our union to be able to support BIPOC performers. She was a person who unashamedly said what was right, regardless of if she were to lose a job or not.
Yeah.
And that also is an explanation of why, you know, in this community, she may not have had, you know, 40,000 credits, but it's because she took the jobs where she was still able to be herself.
Yeah.
She worked for the people where she was still able to have that respect and that be given to her. And I think that's just so important to hear for our generation, because even though we've progressed so much, there are still times, like you said, where we're still fighting this battle. We're still breaking through this glass ceiling.
Yep.
And you need to still be able to stand on what you stand on and be unapologetic about it. And then now we have people coming up to my mom years later being like, oh, I get what you were saying.
Yeah.
That wasn't right.
Yeah.
We shouldn't have done that to you. And it took them 20 years.
Right.
But here we are. Like, and how amazing is it that now people can understand what she was talking about from a different perspective. So it's really cool.
it's nice that you guys can see what my full circle moment is.
Yes. It's beautiful.
Like, it is real.
Yeah.
It's, you know, I had things to say and she finished it for me 20 something years later.
Yeah.
by doing the work in the MBT, by doing the work in the stunt committee. She's put herself in a place where she can have a voice and make change. And that's what she did a couple years ago. She finished something I tried to do many years ago. So
She's referring to stunt doubling guidelines that have now been introduced for our union, because a big issue in stunts doubling BIPOC performers was blackfacing. So now we're explaining to people, you know, if you have someone like me doubling somebody like lighter skin, that's not black facing by changing people's skin tones who are already black.
Right.
It's lightening and darkening, using makeup and color and mixing. But for them, they're now misunderstanding that. Right. And so the guidelines really clarify the definition of what that is, how to protect performers, and the system of how to hire that's appropriate and respectful for everybody. Yes. So it was a really big deal that we got those implemented, and they're getting accepted by IADC 891, which is the hair and makeup union.
Yes.
And they're getting behind it, and there's some really good work happening in the community now. So.
That's amazing.
That
People don't really hear about those those things, the background things. They see stunt work and they're like, oh yeah, they go out and fall and do that, but there's so much more to it. Right. So like, can you explain a little bit more about like the misconceptions about this job, and one of them being that? I guess.
Also, just for women in general, there was this thing called wigging in stunts, where they would just put a wig on a dude, and they would do the job for a stunt woman. And now we have, like Mom said, a way more variety of stunt women. So that is few and far between, if not non-existent in our industry. But having to be a woman and see, you know, your job being taken by a man just because it's more convenient, or people have better relationships with that person. They'd rather throw a wig on a dude than, you know, get an actress to be doubled by the proper double. So those are things that we've fought for, and some people have had to just stomach and take, and then hopefully build themselves and their skills up high enough so that they could be considered for the job. That we don't talk about, because at the same time we do have people in the industry, boots on the ground, like doing the work. That's why I'm the biggest advocate of being the highest level I can in this industry, so that nobody has any excuse to hire me. Like it's not a question of my skill as to why I'm here. I'm not here just because I'm a black woman. I'm here because I'm great. You know, and I think that's also a big part of it. So
huge. Because I definitely was told I was here just because of the color of my skin sometimes. So you know, to have her validated as her skill level, and that she takes, you know, what she brings to the table is more than just what she is on the exterior. It's all of her abilities. So it's really important that that's being shown.
Yeah. And that people are working hard.
Yes.
Yeah, you got to get out there and you got to get it. And it's still an athletic job, so you got to train. You can't just be there, you know, being the token anything. Like, be there because you're there and really contribute. And I know people in this community, they are open to it. They're open to you showing up and really impressing them. You may be there just because you're double and you're the best double, but you can show them that you're also there because you're a great performer.
I love it.
It's amazing. So what would a typical, I guess, work week look like on set?
For you, go.
Yeah.
Well, for me, it was different. Okay, so my priority was raising my child. So I entered the stunt world as a mother. So for me, it was like, well, if this fits into what I'm trying to do outside of my home, then we'll do that. But if it's not meshing with what's happening in my home, then I wasn't doing it. And I definitely said yay to some things and nay to other things that I didn't feel I was qualified for. But I would work on a monthly basis, more or less. I would make a few 4, 5, 6 days. Sometimes you get a run where it'd be 30 days. But those were, you know, few and far between for me. So the work week for her looks totally different. Okay, it looks totally different. Again, I was just there to fill the void of black women. Black double. She's there filling lots of different avenues. Okay, she's doing her own, she's doing her black woman thing, she's doing the skill thing, just a female thing. She's being hired not for just that, but non-descriptive stunts. Right, we need a girl to come off the top of something. There's no color to it. She's being considered for that. Whereas that wasn't really, I wasn't really in the running for those things back in the day.
Yeah, work week for me. A work week, if I'm on a project, for me is usually a part of the stunt team. So in that sense, we get, if it's a TV show, we get like a one-liner that kind of describes the script and what's going on and what they want for certain action and for the script. And so we look at the action, particularly in these scripts, and we try to conceptualize how we want to pitch them to the director. So we'll create these things called previses or pre-visual concept videos, which are stunt performers acting as the actors or the character, and then we show them how we want the fight scene to go, and then they give us notes, and then we change it, but we edit like full little movies now, and they're a really big part of the fight teams for CW in Vancouver that we've had for all these shows like Arrow and Supergirl and Superman and Lois. They have fight like these stunt teams, and we create the action on the TV shows, and we train our actors. So another day will be like, you know, running through Jill's, getting them doing staff, getting them doing knife work, getting them doing whatever kind of magic movements they need to learn, stances, and then I go home. I decompress. I try to have a quiet moment. But usually, if you're on an 8-month run, you have quiet moments, but you're always still on. So after a run, then you just try to do a lot of self-care, whatever that means, prayer, meditation. I go to church, shout out Love Quest. And that's it.
I love that. Do you have, okay, let's get into memories. Do you have like a favorite memory of a stunt, a gig that a movie that you've done? Both of you. Maya?
Yes. Oh, I'm laughing.
Is there something
Yeah, it was on Panther for sure. It was on Wakanda Forever. Our little bald heads. Oh man. We had this ship, the side of the ship that we were fighting on, the ship that we were fighting on for the final battle sequence on Wakanda Forever. And I remember we were practicing this sequence doing bandaloop work. And I don't know if you guys know what it is, but it's from Cirque du Soleil, and it's involved in Ka, that specific show. But they basically run on the side of the wall, and they flip and do all different kind of aerial movements and fight movements and dance movements while on the side of this wall. And they flip. And so we incorporated that in the final battle work with Deborah, and we had to, I think it was like 6 o'clock in the morning, we had our call, went through hair and makeup, and then we had to get up at the top of the side of the ship, or what was the ship in the studio, and it was basically like a top of a building. And we had to run, and we had to, while on wires, jump and fully dive and release, and then be pulled back to the wall, and then be fighting the telekineal. And that day was a cold day in Atlanta, Georgia. So that's why I say our little bald heads. They were cold. They were really cold. But it was such a great day. And it was like, that was a day where we were like, okay, we are superheroes. We are the Dora Milaje. We are in this. And it was such a cool day for me in my career.
That's awesome.
It's fantastic. I love watching her talk about her experience.
No, but she's got some stories.
Please.
Come on. The fire burn, the bungee.
I would say
Snoop Dogg.
Right.
Snoop Dogg.
I doubled Pam Grier. Right, Foxy. Okay. On a movie called Bones that Snoop Dogg did in his early years, way back when. And it was at the end of the movie. They were doing a dance together, and they're so madly in love. They're burning on fire together and dancing, and so that was.
Are you saying that?
A full body burn.
A full body burn from head to toe.
You were on fire.
How does that work?
Wait,
Literally.
How does that work?
Right? So what happens is,
hair.
Right.
I'm just thinking about my
It's the wig.
It's movie magic.
Oh my goodness.
So there's, back in the day, we used to use this gel, and you would soak your Nomex fire retardant underlayers, 2 sets of them, a shirt and pants and socks, and you would soak them in this aloe vera gel.
Fire safety gel.
Fire safety gel. And you soak it in there overnight, so it comes out kind of like frozen.
Okay.
And then you put that on, and then you put the costume on, and then they put fuel on you.
So they do put fuel, gasoline. Ooh.
They did at
They
the
did
time.
back then.
Back then.
I don't know how they do now. But you had a little pony tank that ran through your fire mask.
Yeah.
And then they would dress that up. And then you would breathe through that for about, it was good for about 30 seconds or so.
Okay.
But really you hold your breath.
Yeah.
And then you hold your breath, and then they put the Capasol and fuel on you.
Yeah.
And they light that up, and it burns a pretty color with the Capasol, so they use that. and so then they set you on fire, and you have so much time to get the shot, and it's...
And you really just do it once, or like, are you able to redo the shot over and over and over again?
I did one full and then
Yeah.
one partial that
Okay.
day. So
My
so
goodness.
you go from being like almost hypothermic, and they're
Yeah.
leading you to where you need to be,
Yeah.
and then the fuel hits you, the lights, the flames go up, and boom, you're warm. You're no longer cold.
Yeah, no
And so 26 something seconds burning.
And then
The
did you have to
hair,
go down
though,
and do
like-
The
this?
hair's all covered in gel.
Okay.
It's all the aloe goes all over everything, and then you put a fire retardant mask on.
Okay.
So they don't really shoot that.
Yeah,
so you
yeah,
don't
yeah.
see that. So yeah, but from behind it's all
goodness.
yeah.
And do you feel hot though? Like
You go from freezing cold, like shaking,
Yeah.
just
To
freezing,
fire.
to just warmth, and then you feel the warmth hit you, and then the one time that I had brought my husband to set,
watch me burn.
right? And I'm like, get this, it's Snoop Dogg and Pam Grier, and I want you just to capture me burning.
Yes.
And so back in the, you had the videotape.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? So he had the video recorder, and as they let him stand in a certain spot so he would be out of the way, and the entire film is him just saying, I think she's burning. She's burning. No, her feet are burning. And so he was seeing that I was stepping on the dress was dripping off of me, and I had no shoes. I only had socks on.
Oh my goodness.
And so he could see like I was like trying to
Dance
around the burn.
Yeah.
And so he's like, she's really burning. I could tell she's burning. And then so the video was whack.
He's like shaking. My wife is burning.
There's nothing to be seen.
So we never did that again.
Yeah.
We never did this again. But that was
so
a,
sweet.
yeah, it was an experience.
Oh
Yeah.
my goodness, that's crazy.
OG, man, OG.
Wow.
So we talked about you being part of Wakanda Forever. Tell us more about that experience. How did that happen? Yeah.
Oh,
What was your journey?
Aaron Toney. He's a friend of mine. He's the fight coordinator for Black Panther, who I met on a show called Altered Carbon on their second season. We were doing a lot of action sequences on there, and I was doubling a character named Trep, played by Simone Missick at the time, and they needed somebody to do this specific gag for Renee, Elise Goldsberry, on the show, and they couldn't find anybody. And then my boss at the time, Larry Lamb, he asked me, "Oh, can you do this? Like run up the wall, like flip off and land and keep fighting?" And I was like, "I think so." Like never done it. Like it's not like I do it on a Wednesday, but I was like, "Yeah, I'll try it out." So I did it, and I got it, and they were like, "Okay, you're gonna be her double for this fight, for the last fight of the sequence for the show." And I was like, "Okay." And they're like, "You're gonna be doing the previs with Aaron," and Aaron is known for being the stunt double for Falcon in Marvel.
Yes.
For Anthony Mackie,
Yeah,
for all of his different projects. And so I was like, okay, I knew Aaron, he's a big dog, he's coming from LA on our stunt team, and I was like, okay, like I hope I impress him. At the time I was doing a show called Van Helsing, and I was really pounding out my fighting and working on it on the show, and I was like, okay, I'll bring whatever I can to this previs, concept videos. And so we're trying to come up with stuff, and he was really impressed with like what I offered and how I was able to keep up with him. And so he said he always like kept that with him, and he knew when he had another project he was going to call me up, and it happened to be Black Panther. So when he got the gig, he was like, he sent me a message on Instagram. He was like, "Mike, do you want to come out for Black Panther Wakanda Forever?" And I was like, "This is fake." He sent me it on Instagram. I was like, "You didn't even text me." And so I texted him. I was like, "What's up?" He's like, "Hey, what's up? Like, you want to come do the movie with me?" I'm like, "What do you mean? Like, is it gonna be like the whole run, or is it gonna be like for a day or two? Because you never know with these gigs." And I didn't want to go all the way there for a day. I really wanted to like have the experience. And he was like, "No, we want you on as a member of the stunt team. We want you to double Michaela Cole, and play this new character, the Midnight Angels." And I was like, yeah. And he was like, but like, he's like, you need to shave your head. And it's funny because I told everybody in this industry, I was like, I'll never shave my head. The only movie I'll shave my head for is Black Panther if they ever do another one. And it was like, I meant it, but it was a joke. I was like, I don't know if they're going to do a second one. I don't know. And then Chad had passed and everything, so I had no clue. And he was like, you got to shave your head. And I was like, well, yeah. I was like, I told myself. I literally
that was the one
told
exception.
myself that's the exception because
Yeah.
the Dora were a dream for me.
Yeah.
They were iconic for me. I cried when I saw them. So I was like, let's do it. And he's like, okay, Mac. He's like, we're going to get your visa and your paperwork stuff together and we'll get in touch with you. And the rest is history.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So cool.
Yeah.
Oh,
Cool.
So cool.
you must be a proud mom.
Yeah.
My baby.
People say that we're proud. Like
Yeah.
it's like it's another level. It's like you need to dream the biggest dream
Yeah.
for your kids.
Yeah.
And like she continues to set it to another level every time. Like right when I think, okay, we're good.
Yeah.
She's like, Mom, I got this thing I want. I'm just.
How
like,
did she break the news to you? Like how did that happen? Do you remember that experience?
Well, she was in Toronto.
Okay.
Yeah, I wasn't home.
She wasn't home, and I believe she was doing Slumberland or
Yeah. Yep.
yeah, Slumberland, and she's like, I got a call. I got the call.
The call.
There's only one call in our household. It's Wakanda.
You got the call. She goes, I got the call for Black Panther. I said, what? I thought, I cried.
Oh.
I mean, I thought, wow, this is why, you go through some stuff.
Yeah.
You go through some stuff, not for you. You don't know why.
Yeah.
It was not for me. It was for her. I knew I was in this industry. I knew, like, when I first started, like, and they gave me that opportunity. It wasn't something I dreamed or set out to do. For her, it was.
Yeah.
For her, it was like, I want to do this.
Yeah.
I want to take it to the next level, and I want to go for it. And to see, like, all of the things that she desired manifest, it was just, yeah.
Mama. I love it.
Wow.
That's my bestie.
Oh, this has been so good hearing your guys'
I
story.
know.
Honestly,
It's
so
fun.
good.
It's so awesome to see you ladies doing your thing.
Oh,
Like, for real. Vancouver needs you. Vancouver appreciates you.
Yes.
And you are just going to continue to do great things.
Absolutely. We are.
Don't
like,
get
rooting for
comfortable
you.
in this space,
oh,
Your space is going to be big, bright,
Yeah.
bright.
thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Excited. I think we want to kind of do a few little questions just to get to know you a little bit better. These are random questions.
Oh, okay.
We'll all answer some of them.
Yes.
Just to get us going. Get us warmer. You probably have some more questions afterwards as well too. But. Okay, so there are some questions. Feel free. Who wants to start? Mama, do
Oh,
you
I'm
wanna
going to have
start?
to get my glasses.
See, I told you. She looks amazing. That is my mother.
Maya made a joke one time. She said, they're like, oh, Maya, your mom, she looks good, Like, they're like, yeah. Well, she can't see you, she can't hear you, and she won't remember who you are tomorrow. But I'll fight through it. I can
Feel
I'll
free
read it
to,
for you.
Yeah, grab
Here.
any question.
grab
Okay.
any question.
Okay, you want me to read it for you?
Okay. Do you want me to read it out loud?
Yeah, read it out. Read it out. Tell us
If
the question.
MySpace was still a thing, what would be my profile song? Michael Jackson.
Yep.
Michael Jackson, but which one? Which
That's
song?
a hard one. See, that's where I get
depends on
stuck.
the day.
Yeah.
Michael or
The biggest
Breezy.
MJ fan.
Okay, yeah. And Chris Brown. Okay. But listen, don't worry about the problematic people.
That's a whole other podcast. Yeah.
The way you make me feel, Michael Jackson.
Yes.
Ooh.
Yeah. Yes. Because it always makes you happy.
Yes.
Yes.
Definitely.
Right. Right. Yes.
Those two people definitely are like gurus.
Yeah.
To their songs.
Come on.
Yes, for sure.
Okay.
How about you?
Okay, what we got? What fast food restaurant do you think I'm most likely to drive through? What's my order? Shake Shack, and it is a normal single with cheese, no tomatoes. Thank you.
I haven't been yet.
I've
I'm
never
so
been to
excited.
Shake Shack.
Oh,
It's my pride and
Yeah.
joy.
that's fantastic.
It makes my heart sing.
No, what?
No.
Seattle,
It's
right?
Seattle?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
Seattle has one.
Seattle does.
Yeah, I heard New York.
It's really worth it. It's
Yeah.
better than In and Out.
Yes.
It's everything to me.
It's close to my heart.
Natalia, do you want to answer one of these?
I can.
Okay.
What's the first thing you notice about me?
Ooh.
I answer for myself.
Yeah, who has to answer?
Well, why don't you ladies?
I can tell you because
Because
I met her in the hallway.
Yeah.
So I didn't really meet her, but
Yeah.
the first thing I noticed about her were her eyes.
Yes.
Yes. Gorgeous.
Yeah.
Your son has those eyes.
That's my
Yeah, just that whole beautiful shape of your face. Yeah.
It was your name. It was so beautiful. Yeah.
Man, it's been so long.
I-
I've known you for so many years. I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't even remember the first time I met
No,
you,
I
so
don't
I
either.
couldn't tell you.
Yeah.
What do you think is like the most noticeable thing about yourself that people notice as soon as you?
I would say probably like a quiet confidence. Most people say.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you're kind of there, but like you know she's there, but she's quiet. Yeah, I can see that.
Totally.
Yeah.
Love it. Okay, I'll pick one for myself. Okay. Do I remind you of anyone, ladies?
So many people.
I know. I was just
Yeah.
gonna say.
In like the best way.
Okay.
When I first saw you, I'm like, oh, she looks so familiar. Like you're like from church or something. Yeah, absolutely.
Church girl.
Yeah, I know. You did work in the church. So.
Yeah, I did grow up in the church. Yeah.
It's a bubbly personality for me. Like it's very like infectious. It reminds me of an actress I was
Yes,
just.
the girl from Lovin' Hip Hop.
No, she loving hip hop.
No. It's the one that Bow Wow always had a crush on.
Ooh.
Who's that?
Yeah. Look at the young ones.
I don't remember.
See, this is current, but yes, that's who you
Loving
remember.
hip hop though? Or
That's
no,
not Love
just
and Hip Hop.
just
It was
who
not.
Bow Wow had a crush on?
In a movie.
Remember?
movie?
You remember? With the
don't.
love.
I don't. See, this
it's-
is the age. See, people try. People try to ask me, don't you remember that thing, Mom?
Listen, she's got a sister too. There's Angela and somebody.
Oh,
Simmons.
Simmons.
Yeah, she's in Love.
Angela.
Bathing suit
Thank you. See, I knew I wasn't crazy.
and not looks at all, but like energy.
Energy, the smile, and the laughter.
And then
It's the
also
way her
energy
voice
for me.
sounds.
What's it? Regina.
Yes.
Yeah.
No.
No, the comedian Regina. She did Honk for Jesus with
Regina Hall.
Regina Hall.
Yeah,
Hall.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
she's-
the silly.
She just says the most outlandish things sometimes, but she's just so funny. Like she's like
Yes.
effortlessly. Yeah.
That's
Like you
who
know
she
you're not
is.
trying.
Yes.
Wow, all these people I never know.
Yes.
You know what I keep getting from these people, my friends?
What?
These people.
Portia.
Portia.
Portia Williams
Yeah.
from Housewives.
Yes.
They are the same.
It's
Even
that.
her wedding, she had like 5
Yes.
dresses.
I said it at first, Portia did it later. Okay. I had my 4 dresses.
She was
Same.
ready.
The same.
She was ready.
Yeah.
Portia was taking notes.
Yes. But they're the same. Every time we watch the
Whatever.
show, and then there's scenes like that's Abby. That's Abby.
You like continuously send me Portia memes.
Yeah.
too, so
Portia
I'm just
memes.
Portia.
Yes.
I'm gonna take Angela Simmons.
Right, we'll take that. We'll
I'll
take
take
that.
her. Awesome.
Well, what advice would you give to someone trying to, I guess, get into this industry? Wrap it up with that.
I would say train.
Mm-hmm.
Train in many different, train soccer, train basketball, train martial arts, train weapons, train high falls and jumping out of airplanes. Just be open to trying different stuff. Even if you feel like, I have a phobia or I have a fear, you really don't know until you put yourself out there.
Yeah.
And so take that first step, take that first leap, just do it.
Yeah. I would say train in either a martial arts or dance background, and then in aerial work, in whatever sense that is, whether that's like gymnastics, parkour, tricking, whatever. I think that's like the best like base to have with movement, so that if you get on a wire, you're put on a wire, or you have to do a light fall, or you have to put yourself somewhere, you know where your body is, you're in control, and you can be safe.
Awesome. That's amazing. Thank you so much, ladies, for being here.
Thanks for
really
having
appreciate
us.
it. You are our first guest of season 3.
Hey.
So we also really appreciate that.
Yeah.
And the first guest of this new year.
Yeah.
So
Fantastic.
thank you so much
Awesome.
Thank
for
you
sharing
for
your
having
stories.
us.
Thank you
and
for
your
having
experience.
us.
Thank you.
Thank you to our listeners for listening to our podcast episode today. Once again, thank you so much to our guests for joining us today, and we hope to see you soon.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you for listening to our podcast episode. You can find us on all streaming platforms, and you can watch our video recording up on YouTube channel, Black Women Connect Vancouver. Until next time.